Hello everybody and welcome to Tiger Tales, the place you'll find stories and fanfictions written and read to you by your host, me, Tai Tiger. Welcome back to Power Rangers Cyberforce V2, a fanfiction of a fanfiction. Oh, that's kind of how it started. See, Power Rangers Cyberforce is a fanfiction Power Ranger series, a brand new set of abilities and stuff, written and read to you by the creator of it on Power Rangers Universe 19 by Cosplay637, my Parabatai and one of my dear friends, and my business partner in the Three Ranger Bros Studios, or one of the two business partners in the Three Ranger Bros Studios. And I fell in love with the story, and it's one of the reasons why I have Tiger Tales in the first place. And I wanted to pay homage to it, and I made Power Rangers Cyberforce V2, but recent events have made it canon, and the Power Rangers Cyberforce team now are connected to the Power Rangers Cyberforce V2 team. So we continue with the storyline. Two things happen in this story. One revolves around the main trio, Ace, Timothy, and of course Daisy. And then something also happens with the Virus Rangers, which were bad guys, but now turned good. So let's dive in with Power Rangers Cyberforce V2, Chapter 15, Mother Knows Best. Ace and Timothy were sat in the kitchen chatting about Rose. "So, you gonna ask her out or what?" Ace asked. "Nah, man, you insane," Timothy sighed. "Why not? Do it. She's waiting for you," Ace chuckled. "I don't know. After everything with her being evil and stuff, I don't know if I can do it," Timothy said. "Do what?" Daisy asked as she walked in and started putting clothes into the washing machine. "Nothing," Timothy replied, throwing Ace a look that said, "Keep your mouth shut." Ace nodded silently. "So, Haley said today we gotta be on high alert as the Virus Trio are getting their Zords back," Daisy stated. "We are still calling them the Virus Trio?" Ace asked with a raised eyebrow. "Well, Haley said they're still using the virus coding as their power source, so yeah, I guess so," Daisy shrugged. "I like it. It kinda sounds zesty," Timothy chirped.
"Well, at least this place is clean,"
said a voice coming from the front door. The trio all got up and left the kitchen, walked around the corner to see Mrs. Thompson stood there in front of the door. "Mom!" Daisy and Timothy both yelled out in cheer as they both ran over and hugged Mrs. Thompson, who embraced them with a big smile. "What are you doing here?" Daisy blurted.
"Can't a mother come by and see her kids?" Mrs.
Thompson said with a big grin. "Fair enough," Timothy sighed with a smile. They all let go and Mrs. Thompson looked at Timothy with an awkward look. "What?" Timothy asked awkwardly.
"I think you've grown."
Mrs. Thompson chuckled and everyone started laughing. Then Mrs. Thompson looked at Ace and walked up to him. "Hello, Mrs. Thompson. I hope you had a good flight," Ace said.
"Come here and give your mother-in-law a hug," she called out, and Ace leaned in and hugged her. "I trust you all have been looking after each other," she asked as she watched Timothy and Ace grab her bags from the corridor and pulled them into the apartment. "Yes, Mom, we have been great, actually," Daisy said with a small smile. "You're lucky we ain't working today," Timothy said under the weight of his mother's heavier suitcase. "I am sorry, do my children have jobs?" Mrs. Thompson said with a surprised tone. "Make that all three of us, actually," Ace noted. "Where do you guys work then?" she asked the trio. "We all work at the Cyber Museum. Ace is a tour guide, I'm a receptionist and cleaner, and Timothy's actually the cook in the cafe. He also owns a hot dog stand outside now," Daisy explained. "Well done, you guys. That's awesome," Mrs. Thompson cheered. "Hey, you want a cup of tea?" Timothy asked his mother. She gave him another awkward look and then nodded her head. So Timothy headed into the kitchen to make everyone a cup of tea as Daisy, Ace and Mrs. Thompson all sat down on the sofa in the living room and continued catching up. Hey there, and I apologise for interrupting, but if you're a fan of Power Rangers, I have a question for you. Did you ever wonder what would happen if in Power Rangers Super Mega Force they failed and the Armada won? Well, I've actually answered that question by writing a story called Power Rangers Magnificent Megaforce, a fanfiction where the Armada wins, and 50 years into the future, the Armada have taken over the entire planet. But there's a saving grace in
a ranger, and a guide, and a ghost. If that sounds all confusing or yet intriguing, then maybe you guys should go check out Power Rangers Magnificent Megaforce on Tiger Tales, found on YouTube. Rose, Derek, and Trixie all walked into the underground bunker. Alright guys, so your Zord's energy signature is right here. Well, kinda. It's technically in front of you. All you gotta do is place the devices on the Zords. Then you gotta give me exactly 2 minutes. I'm talking 120 seconds, okay? I need that time frame. Then I can teleport them out of the base, Haley told them over the comms. Aye, Captain, Derek muttered. The three of them pushed the door open and walked in to find their Zords all sat there dormant, waiting for them. Derek pulled out 3 devices and handed one to Rose and one to Trixie. Rose walked up and started to climb the Cybervirus Wasp Zord and placed the small device on the back of it. Then she backflipped off and landed on the ground safely. Derek walked up and climbed the Cybervirus Scorpion Zord and placed the device on its head, then hopped off it, and then Trixie climbed up the Cybervirus Widow Zord and placed the device on its neck. Then she slid off and landed on her feet. Easy peasy, Rose grinned. Then, in a matter of seconds, the 3 of them were surrounded by stickers. You had to open your big mouth, didn't you? Derek snapped. Shall we call the others? Trixie asked. Nah, we can handle a few stickers. Besides, we've got to handle these freaks for 2 minutes. Got to give Haley the doohickeys a chance, Derek told the girls. Then one of the stickers swung its blade. Rose dodged an incoming attack, then she kicked the sticker in the chest, sending it backwards. Derek grabbed a sticker, lifted it over his head, and then he threw it at the group of stickers. Trixie jumped up, swung her leg, and kicked one on the head, knocking off his feet. Then the 3 of them all stood there and waved their hands over their morphers. Scan DNA, Derek called out as he waved his hand over his morpher. And his morpher started to glow and glitch. Cybercharge, Derek called out as he slammed his hand on his morpher, and in a flash of glitchy light he was morphed into the Virus 1 Ranger. Scan DNA, Rose called out as she waved her hand over her morpher, and her morpher started to glitch. Cybercharge, she called out as she slammed her hand on her morpher, and in a glitchy light she was morphed into the Virus 2 Ranger. Scan DNA, Trixie called out and waved her hand over her morpher, and her morpher started to glitch. Cybercharge, she called out as she slammed her hand on her morpher, and in a glitchy light she morphed into the Virus 3 Ranger. Then the 3 Rangers started to fight. The Virus Ranger 1 summoned his Virus Stinger and started blasting several stickers. He jumped up, ran across the wall as he started blasting them. The Virus 2 Ranger grabbed 2 blades as the stickers swung them, and then she pulled them close in and slammed both her fists into both the stickers' chests, sending them both flying backwards. They both crashed onto the ground. Then she ducked down and swept her foot across the ground, tripping 2 more stickers over. The Virus 3 Ranger kicked up one of the stickers in the shin, knocking it down to one knee. Then she booted the sticker in the chest. Then she caught a sticker's fist as she jumped up, wrapped her legs around the sticker's neck, then she spun around and flipped the sticker off its feet as she landed. Suddenly, the 3 Cybervirus Zords teleported out of the bunker. Guys, I have successfully retrieved the Zords. You can head back when ready, Haley told them. Huh, good news, Virus 1 Ranger barked. Then he pulled out a sticker up close to him, placed his cyber stinger against his chest and pulled the trigger. Then the trio grouped up, hit their morphers, and all teleported away. They teleported back into the base and demorphed. Haley swiveled on her chair and grinned at them. Let's go, guys. Haley grinned. Thanks. So now what? Trixie asked. I have a plan. I kind of have to do some calculating first, but I think I may need Universe 19 Haley for some help. But basically, I should recalibrate them so you guys can use them soon, Haley stated. You want us to get you some food? Rose asked. Sure, Haley nodded. Then Derek and Trixie all teleported away, leaving Haley to call the other Haley in Universe 19 as they got Haley some food.
when times are tough, but you personally don't want to get rough. Call these mutants for hire. Their number is definitely fire. 14-141-26610. They'll do anything almost like a hero.
Ace, Daisy and Timothy had spent the afternoon with Mrs. Thompson. They had gone out for Chinese food, they walked around the marketplace for a bit, and then when they all got home, they all watched a movie together. Timothy went to bed due to him being tired as he spent 6 hours playing video games the night before. Then Daisy and Ace snuggled while Mrs. Thompson had a bath. Then when she was out, dried and dressed, her and Daisy hung out and gossiped for a bit before Daisy went to bed. Ace made it up to bed not long after, but first he had to make the bed up for Mrs. Thompson in the living room. At 2:30 in the morning, Ace woke up due to Daisy kicking him in her sleep. He climbed out of bed, smiling at the sleeping Daisy. Then he walked out of his bedroom and got himself a drink from the kitchen sink.
"You're awake too?"
Mrs. Thompson asked behind him. Ace turned around and nodded. "Yeah, your daughter likes to pretend I'm a soccer and she's a player, or I'm a ball and she kicks... I don't know, she likes to kick me," Ace said under his half-tiredness.
"Yeah, she's done that since she was born,"
Mrs. Thompson stated. "How come you're awake? Is the bed okay?" Ace asked her.
"Something is bothering me,"
Mrs. Thompson told Ace. "Oh, you care to share?" Ace asked with a slight hint of intrigue.
"I can't. It's too bad for me to say,"
Mrs. Thompson said, shaking her head as she sat at the table. "Hey, I thought me and you were meant to be family," Ace said.
"Okay, fine. But do not tell Daisy,"
Mrs. Thompson barked. Ace pretended to zip his lips shut and throw away the key, hinting of his sworn secrecy.
"Let me ask you something,"
Mrs. Thompson said to Ace. "Sure," Ace replied.
"Who is Timothy?"
Mrs. Thompson asked with a stern face. "You mean your son?" Ace answered, confused.
"I have 2 children. Daisy is my daughter, but I do not have a son called Timothy. I have a son called Thomas. That absolutely lovely boy is not my son. My son is cold-hearted. I love him, but it's true. He looks like my son, though,"
Mrs. Thompson stated with her stern motherly look. Ace looked at Mrs. Thompson, really confused. "Wait, if Timothy ain't your son, then who the hell is he then?" Ace asked. Mrs. Thompson just shrugged her shoulders, and Ace sat there in awe, confused, and intrigued. And there you have it, guys. Another installment to Power Rangers Cyberforce V2. I'd like to have a massive round of applause and a warm welcome and a big thank you to my loving fiance, who actually lended her voice for Mrs. Thompson. She is very new to the whole voice acting work, and honestly, I never thought that she'd do this, so this does put a really big grin on my face. Baby, I love you. Thank you very much for doing this. And she will return as Mrs. Thompson, as her little story involved in the Cyberforce V2 Rangers ain't over just yet. That being said, of course, check out the original Cyberforce Power Rangers storyline, which will be found on Power Rangers Verse 19, the podcast, anywhere you can listen to podcasts, written and read to you by Cosplay Dude 67, my power tie and my business partner and my best friend. Me and Cosplay Dude are 2 of the 3 Ranger bros, so you gotta make sure you check out the 3rd one, Mark the Red Cornish Ranger, with his podcast Nursery Comics. That being said, check out our association Zero to Hero, and make sure you check out If You Give It That a Podcast. You can find both podcasts anywhere you listen to podcasts. Quick shout out to, of course, A Crown, who has the Author's Crown YouTube channel, which he uploads storylines on, so make sure you give him a massive check out too. That being said though, there is some other YouTube channels you've got to check out. First one being Nostalgia Time, which Cosplay Dude uploads more stories, and his brand new one, One Piece the audio drama, which the very first chapter should be out very soon. Subscribe to this channel, Tiger Tales, because you'll find more stories and fanfictions. I'm sure there's something for everybody. But I also have 3 other places you can check out my stories. New ones and different ones. There's the Lost Stories channel. Tiger Tales The Lost Stories hosts first-person perspective storylines, and I try to get really wacky with the storylines on that channel. Second one is Tiger Tales Game Over. exact same concept, but they're all revolved around video games. I'm having a lot of fun there. And then the third one is the start of it all. It's the very first story I ever actually properly created. I've been writing it since I was a kid, and also it's connected to every single storyline I've ever written that isn't a major point crossover of two franchises, and it's called Tiger Tales Mysterious Origins. So make sure you check out the other 3 channels as well, subscribe to this one. Thank you all for listening, and I shall see you guys real soon.